What motivates me to talk with you in this matter, and why should you listen? What motivates me to talk with you in this manner, and why should you listen to what I have to say? I think this is an important place to have this conversation. Hi, I'm Howard Primer, and I'm passionate about housing. All of this is about Primer on housing, and the idea of how housing should be undertaken is something that has motivated me a great deal, and therefore I have been very liberal in discussing things with you. But I think it's an important time for me to explain what motivates me to feel this way. And I feel it's also an important time for me to share with you why I believe you should listen to me. So, therefore, I need to be open and honest with you and transparent with you. I found my way into housing at the beginning of the century. I've already told you that in prior videos. My motivation for getting into housing, however, was a powerful one that grew from a very important epiphany in my life and in my faith. I had a powerful experience that took place. In some future video, maybe I'll go into the details of the entire experience at that particular time, but I can tell you that it was really very powerful. It took me by surprise, and at that particular time, I was called, I was encouraged, I felt empowered to get into housing and to change the way housing was done. So I spent 2 years traveling around looking at housing, particularly multifamily housing, because that has the greatest impact because it attaches itself to so many people. But I looked at housing, all forms of housing. I looked at senior housing. I looked at housing for students in colleges. I looked at to be purchased housing. I looked at condominium housing. I looked at collective housing. I looked at all sorts of housing, and I saw, more than I saw, I was shocked to find there was a continuous pattern of activity that took place in all of those venues, all of them dealing with housing, all of them dealing with human beings in housing, and in every consistent way, they felt incompatible to what I was being called to do. So I set out to pursue what I believed was my purpose, and that was to get myself into housing, to change the way housing was done, and to pursue it based upon a very strong, meaningful identity that I felt compelled to put into writing and share with other people. So I've already told you that my big, hairy, audacious goal for sitting here having these conversations with you and being open and honest with you is that I'm out to change the world, and I'm out to do that one community at a time through one relationship at a time. That was my big, hairy, audacious goal, to change the world one community at a time through one relationship at a time. I did not hesitate to share that with the people who were involved in my prior housing venture, and I do not want to hesitate to share that with you. In the context of that, the most important thing that I felt I must do is I must sit down and articulate to myself in writing what my core values would be that would govern all aspects of my being involved in housing. And I then proceeded to share that with my employees, making it a priority to understand that. Core values are an essential component of doing, and in many respects, a value that should be understood by us, of doing what is most appropriate as we pursue our ambition in whatever form we take it. So I put my core values in writing. This is the document that every one of my employees had. This is the document that inspired everyone to be a part of it. And this was the document that inspired them to, in fact, pursue housing in a compatible fashion to the way I was pursuing housing. And I absolutely devoted myself to supporting, manifesting in every way I possibly could, and encouraging that these core values would be the things that would drive everything we did. I want to share those core values with you. because I think they're important for us today, because it will get us to the question of why should you listen to me? So let me address the core values with you. Let me unpack a few of them a little bit just so that we can be focused in on them and understand the importance of them. The number one core value, which is tied back to my big, hairy, audacious goal, is relationships are our highest priority. By the way, by first, I mean that sincerely. The highest relationship priority is, in fact, the highest core value. Second, integrity drives each and every action we take. So if I have a relationship focus, I must be fully in integrity with everybody involved. There cannot be any misleading, misdirecting communication if I truly do desire a relationship, because relationship based upon a lack of integrity is not a sincere relationship. It is not a highest value. So two was integrity drives each and every action we take. It still does drive every action I take. Three, we communicate openly and honestly with compassion. That brings me to why this is such an important conversation that we're having today. I invite you into my home. I invite you to sit with me. Unfortunately, in this means of communication, it is a one-sided communication. You're not able to talk with me, so all I can do is talk with you. And you have to endure, for instance, the grandfather clock that I have in my home, interrupting this conversation from time to time, as it has in the past, and I'm sure it will in the future. But it's part of my home. It's my environment. So I want to be open and honest with you, and I want to do it with compassion. But I am going to be compelled to be open and honest with you, and I will do that today in every possible way that I possibly can. Third, we reward and recognize the efforts of others. To do this, to do housing, to do it right, our focus can't be mono-oriented. It has to be collaboratively oriented. And so therefore we have to support one another, and we have to reward and recognize one another. And everything we do needs to be oriented towards this reward and recognize philosophy in order to build relationship. It goes back to that highest priority. Fourth, we embrace teamwork, which is an obvious extension of rewarding and recognizing the efforts of others. It is not a single effort. It is a collaborative effort, and everybody involved must be on the same page, focused on the same outcomes, driving towards the same results, and then value will be experienced by everybody we encounter in doing service for them. And finally, we maintain an equal amount of humility and ambition. It's a little awkward one. We can be overly ambitious, and in fact, if we're involved in the housing industry, there is a substantial amount of ambition driving us because we're involved in something that has very substantial benefits if we're successful at it. And we also have a fiduciary responsibility to others who give us the capital we need to be successful in it. But that's ambition. At the same time, we have to balance that ambition with humility. We have to understand that we're all human, that we are, in fact, flawed in our nature by virtue of the fact we come from different backgrounds. We've had different experiences. Our humility must be paramount in our ability to talk with one another. So the question I'm putting before you is, what motivates me to have these conversations with you, and why should you listen to me? Because I am really compelled to be honest with you about housing. And it's ironic that I should do that, because unlike at the beginning when I went out and I got involved in housing, and I'm doing it precisely for the reason of advancing a specific business enterprise that was a enterprise which was an enterprise that I was involved in and I was directly responsible for, and I saw the direct benefits. I'm sitting here, as I've told you before, stripped of all of that. I made the powerful decision to walk away from this powerful pursuit that filled my life in order to become responsible, be open and honest about, and be in relationship with the beautiful bride that shared my life for so many years. And I will share with you at some point why I think I did a little bit, why I am sitting here feeling I am obligated to do this with you. I'm hoping you'll listen to me because it is sincere desire on my part that we should do a job together. I want you to reach out to me openly and honestly and discuss things with me. I believe we can do this together. My sitting in this apartment, my sharing this information with you, my sharing my experiences in life with you means a lot to me, but why should you listen? Well, I'm hoping that because I have no dog in the hunt other than my passion, you'll listen to me because my motivation is entirely consistent with this idea of changing the world one community at a time through one relationship at a time, because I want to join with you in making that occur. I want you to embrace with me this powerful ambition to make the world a better place. And therefore, your reason to continue to listen to what I have to say is that I'm hoping that you will see that I am motivated by one compelling desire to change the world one community at a time, through one relationship at a time, and I need your help. More than I need your help. I must have your help to make that happen. I no longer can independently make those things happen. I can only do it through collaboration. And that's why open and honest communication will compel me. That's why my relationship with you is central and highest priority for me. And that is why my motivation is entirely about the quality of the human experience as they experience it through this fundamental need called housing. So I look forward to your continuing to join me. I ask you to be bold enough to reach out to me and let me know that you're involved. Ask me whatever questions you want by coming to my website or going to any of my locations on social media. Or, more exciting to me, make the effort to set up a time where we can have a cup of coffee together and we can have an open and honest conversation together. That's really my greatest desire. I will feel most valued if you can demonstrate to me a willingness to at least have a conversation with me, have a discussion with me, because that's the foundation of relationship. It isn't sitting in this isolated environment listening to my grandfather clock that makes that happen. It is your willingness to engage in relationship and your willingness to recognize that humility and ambition together may make what we have to say to one another even more powerful and valuable. So thank you for being here. Again, I'm Howard Primer, and this is the Primer on Housing, and I love housing. Thank you.